First kisses are terrible. Trust me, I would know. For example, you know how in movies when the characters slowly meet eyes, the music starts to rise and it gets louder and louder in anticipation of the moment before they finally make contact? Listen, I don't know if anybody's told you this yet, but life isn't a rom-com. It's a really boring horror movie. Alright, so this is Leia. Love of my life, high school sweetheart, and future wife. You know, if my bad diet and sleep schedule don't make me die of a heart attack before I get to marry her. But this story isn't about her, because I've only been dating her for barely 3 years, and she was my 10th girlfriend? I don't know. Listen, I honestly think that Leia is my first real girlfriend, but she definitely wasn't my first kiss. Although, our first kiss wasn't that great either. I'll tell you about that later. No, my first ever kiss was in 8th grade. See, there was this girl who I met in my film class that I got along with pretty well. She laughed at my jokes, and we had a lot of things in common, like we were both tall. Yeah, man, side piece, I whined about this girl for like a year, and looking back, my gosh, we would have never worked out. She was the type of girl to go to parties all the time and get wasted, and I get anxiety being in a crowded room for more than 20 minutes now, so good thing she cut it off early. But it still doesn't change the fact that she was my first kiss. Basically, we started dating on this trip to Nashville. It was for a film competition. If you didn't know, I was a major film kid. From elementary school to middle school where I met her, and all the way to high school where I met Leia. But at this competition in Nashville, 2 of our mutual friends started dating. And through that line, I was able to find out that this girl liked me. So when we got back from the trip, I asked her to be my girlfriend, and she said yes on one condition. We keep it a secret. Red flag! No, in reality, the only reason she wanted to keep it a secret is because her parents said she couldn't date until high school, which, okay, I guess. Eventually, that would lead to us breaking up for the first time, but not before our mutual friends said, "Hey, so when are you gonna kiss?" Listen, we started dating in April of that year, and middle school ended in June. So we got 3 months to get this done, because since we're keeping our relationship a secret, we're not gonna get to hang out over the summer at all. But both of us are scared, and even though the clock is ticking, neither of us makes a move. Until one night. The school play was Little Shop of Horrors. She was backstage doing makeup, and I volunteered to help sell snacks for the program. And towards the end of the night, when there was no one left outside, and the play was coming to a close, I snuck backstage to hang out with her. We were just chilling back there, and there was kind of a moment of silence before I finally got the courage to ask her, "Hey, would you mind if I kissed you?"
Oh, Danno, that's so awkward. You asked if you could kiss her?
Hey kids, guess what? Consent makes you cool. Anyway, it's a good thing I asked because she said no. The alternative situation is this, and boy howdy, I'm glad I didn't let that happen. Also, who the hell says boy howdy? Anyway, she explained that she was wearing stained lipstick and didn't want me to be a dead giveaway, but looking back, I think it was just an excuse. She obviously wasn't ready yet, but it was important because the seed was planted. Ew. Later that night, she texted me a massive apology about not being ready, and I remember just sitting in bed like, okay, we'll do it later, I don't care. And then cut to later, on the last day of school, it finally happened. Listen, I have the memory of a goldfish, so I'm not sure if I asked again or if we planned it, but we ended up meeting right in front of my last class. Hold on. Funny background detail. This is a story for another day, but basically, a little while before this, I had begged the staff of the school, fake cried to the staff of the school to let me become a teacher's assistant so I could get out of an elective that I really didn't want to do. So, to this teacher that I became an assistant for, I was kind of like a saint. See, I have this habit in front of adults called sucking up. It's like a gear switches in my brain, and I have to go, "Yes, ma'am, it's nice to meet you." And in order to stay as the teacher's assistant, man, I ramped it up! "Yes, ma'am, of course, ma'am. No, ma'am." She probably thought I was Jesus' nephew or something the way I acted. But what I didn't know until afterwards was that she was actually in her classroom while I was having my first kiss. In front of her classroom, which basically means that we had an audience, and she saw everything. Which makes this story a lot worse. Alright, back to the story. Now again, I'd love to tell you that the lights dimmed, a choir started singing, and stars appeared all around us, but the truth, the lights didn't dim, there was no music, it was only me and her, an awkward wind, and some gum on the sidewalk. And we slowly started leaning in, closed our eyes, and... The trivia time! Welcome to the dating show, where we ask you important questions about dating to see if you're ready to be in a relationship. And here's the winner-take-all question. What's the first step to kissing? Is it A, lean in, B, tilt your head so that your noses don't get in the way, or C, take your pants off? It's B, tilt your head. But guess what? No matter how many times both of us had seen it in movies, I didn't do that. But guess what? Neither did she. I guess both of us just assumed the other would, but nope. We were both too stubborn. None of us backed down, and we just slammed our noses into each other trying to touch lips. It was like that scene in Despicable Me where Gru's nose bends. But the worst part, it took forever. We were just trying to get into any lip at all, and it wasn't happening. From an outside view like Mrs. Algebra, I bet it looked like we were making out for a whole 5 minutes. Yeah, I wish I could forget it. Hey, Cookie. After what felt like 5 hours of a sad attempt of a kiss, we finally backed off and just hugged. Then I backed away and said, "Do you want to try again?" And she said no and laughed. But the funny thing about this is technically it wasn't my first kiss since we didn't make any contact. I mean, our lips barely touched, and when people asked who my first kiss was, I tried to avoid it a lot. Or say, well, it didn't really count, right? But luckily, we got another shot. The real first kiss didn't happen until 6 months later-ish. Yeah, I don't know. Time is a blur. Basically, over the summer, she broke up with me because she felt pressure not being able to tell her parents. Then high school rolls around, and she's finally allowed to date, but doesn't like me anymore. Boo-hoo, freshman Danno, except... Look at this! I was blonde! I would not date this thing in a million years. So listen, girl, if you're out there, I do not blame you. Nah, but anyway, she liked this old friend of hers, but eventually he got back with his ex, and I got sloppy seconds, but it didn't matter to me because I was a desperate high schooler who was too afraid to start from the ground up with another girl, so we got back together. And on Christmas 2018, she was my first real kiss. She spent most of the day with her family, but wanted to see me that night. She texted me and said, "I'm outside. I want to give you your gift." Oh, I like gifts. So I go outside to meet her on my porch, and at first I was confused because I didn't see any gifts. I looked at her pockets first to see if she was hiding it there. No. Then I realized her hands weren't even behind her back. And my first thought was, "You lied to me." And then she starts leaning in, and my brain goes, "She's gonna kiss you. Shoot, she's gonna kiss you." See, just moments before opening the door and going outside, I popped something into my mouth called a root beer barrel. Basically, it is a super, super hard candy that you have to suck on for a long time. And so the second I realized she was going in for the kiss, I tried swallowing. Didn't work. It got lodged in my throat. Luckily though, this time we had a regular kiss. We actually tilted our heads and then we hugged and said goodbye. Then I ran inside and... Listen, there's a couple stories I could tell about this girl. How it was super awkward meeting her parents, the time I threw up after making out with her, how I made a mistake going out with one of her friends, whatever, it's a whole thing. Bottom line is this. It was middle school, man. I haven't talked to her in years, and she doesn't even have social media, so we lost track of each other a long time ago. But it worked out. See, she wasn't the first heartbreak I had. When I was in elementary school, there was this one girl that I really liked, and we had an on and off thing, and it kind of hurt in the end, but then this girl came along in middle school. Heartbreak. Then a couple girls in high school. Heartbreak, heartbreak, heartbreak. But in the end, it didn't matter anyway, because I found Leia. The literal greatest woman that has ever been put on the earth, and now I have a new definition of the word love. See, I thought I loved all these girls in the past, and I just didn't. I thought I did because I was a dumb kid who had seen too many Disney movies and thought this is what love meant. But no, now that I'm spending my life with her, someone who I've fought with, who stood by me when I'm sad or an idiot or whatever, who I consider my best friend, now I know what love is a lot better. But I'm sure as we grow up in age, I'm gonna get an even better understanding of what love is as we have more fights and struggles and we get all old and wrinkly. But all of that started with our first kiss. Although funnily enough, my first kiss with her wasn't much better. It was at the end of our first date. We had been in the car the whole time because I was afraid of being shot with a water gun. It was a game for money. Remind me to tell you the story about Senior Assassin later. But I finally got the courage to get out of the car at sunset. We looked out at the city lights and I held her from behind. I'm tall enough to rest my chin on her head, so we stayed like that for a while and we just stared out at how pretty everything was, and I knew it was the right moment. Except I didn't move out from behind her, I just did this. I kissed her from the side. It didn't work. But luckily, when I asked if I could try again, Leia said yes. And that's just further proof that she's my soulmate. So, moral of the story. Go from the front and always tilt your head. Really basic beginner's level stuff here. I swear, if I could smack that smug little... Anyway, big shout out to my amazing, fantastical channel members, of which we have nearly 500, which is just insane. If you're a channel member, you gain exclusive access to monthly members-only live streams, community posts, and some shorts every now and then. But mostly you're just supporting me and my channel, and I'm forever grateful for you. And a big, insane thank you to my editor, Steve, because without him, this video would not be possible. I'm busy working on ToonTurf, which is almost here, guys. I swear, give me a little more time. But Steve edited 99% of this video, meaning I only had to spend a little time time cleaning up and animating certain stuff. But Steve did the rest of it, so show him some love. His channel's right here. And if you like the video, subscribe, because we might be able to make a lot more in the future, but I'm not promising anything. I learned my lesson from announcing Toon Turf's release date a year early. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you next time.